Our next question comes from JT Alexander S. Perfect landing spot for Zach LaVine. Speaking of, we're just going to get right to the Zach LaVine trades. I'm intrigued by Toronto. It was just Siakam for LaVine and Patrick Williams. Isn't that an interesting challenge trade? I don't want Raptors fans to hate us. And I don't know. I think Bulls fans are just like so numb right now. They probably would be Zach LaVine for like Tobias Harris. They'll just be numb to anything I propose. That's a semi, maybe not like Zach LaVine for Williams and Siakam is a fairly interesting challenge trade. Who needs to give up picks in that scenario? Patrick Williams has been really rough to start the year. That's just an interesting challenge trade for both teams. Can someone agree with me, please? Pretty please, without fleshing it out, like just the basis of that. Other spots for Zach LaVine, the Knicks. I know Knicks fans tend to be lower on that, and that's not the guy that you want to push all your chips on. The defense has been good enough, though. If you're moving, I think you need to move away from Julius Randle. I don't know if he's in that deal, but if you're getting LaVine and Julius Randle's leaving the team or coming off the bench, I mean, he would have to be there. Julius Randle has to go if you're getting Zach LaVine. That's where I'm at. They're still a team that I think could really use him. He'd open things up for Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett a ton. Maybe RJ Barrett needs to be part of that deal. I'd rather see RJ Barrett stay. I think the Knicks have the pick equity to at least get that done. The Sixers for sure. Maxey, LaVine, and Embiid. I don't know if they have the wing defense to kind of make up for that at this point. You have the Anthony Melton, super reliable, and you did get if Nick Batum ever reports to the team. And you did get Rocco. Some of those guys would have to go out as matching salary unless it's Tobias Harris, who's had a pretty good start to the year. I mentioned Toronto. I think so now some of these Miami, I think you could make a case for. It would just be a little bit of a bummer. I don't know. I don't know how much of an upgrade individually Zach LaVine is over Tyler Herro. There's more levels to Zach LaVine's offense, but I think Herro's probably the better passer at this point. And so do you want to keep Herro as part of that then? How much are you playing Herro and Zach LaVine together? But just because of where Miami's half-court offense is at, LaVine, Bam, and Jimmy's a hell of a trio. And theoretically, you could keep, if you're moving Lowry and other salaries, I mean, you might even be able to keep Lowry as well. Just use Duncan Robinson's salary as the anchor. I think you would still need to move Lowry as part of that. But if you're able to keep Herro and get LaVine, there's a little bit redundancy, but they're both so capable off the ball. I wouldn't hate it. I thought about Indiana for a second, but their offense is just too good. And I just we're already trying to, I'm not a Benedict Mathurin person per se, but we're already trying to figure out what the Pacers are going to do defensively. And Caitlin Cooper was just talking about on Twitter, I think, about when their defense looks the best and all the stuff that she was describing, Zach LaVine cannot be a part of. The Lakers, do they have enough? The shine is worn off of Austin Reaves. You're not going to be able to trade a boatload of picks. That'll be more open for them probably over the offseason, depending on the asking price. I mean, their half-court offense, though, could use it. And so it's like once D'Lo is eligible to be traded, can we get, is there a way to get there? Like, are the Bulls interested enough in Austin Reaves to, move him and then D'Lo and picks? A little bit rough there. Memphis, but not really. Just like right now, yeah, Memphis. But you have Smart, you have Bane, John Morant will come back. I don't love that fit. I wondered if New Orleans would be, and we have New Orleans fans in the Discord. So again, don't get mad at me. I'm throwing stuff out here. Would they be better off with Zach LaVine's 3-point volume than they would with Brandon Ingram? Brandon Ingram is the better player, but when I look at what's happening, we have another question on New Orleans later. That CJ McCollum injury, man, collapsed lung. I woke up, Sunday, like I said, I was so fried. And I woke up to that news. Like I was taking a nap and it was just such a bummer. The Pelicans just can't catch a break. And they're not even, I know you could say, well, that's the thing with all these guys. They're always kind of injured. It's not a chronic injury for any of these dudes. It's just shit keeps happening. That was a bummer to find out. There are two teams that I think, I don't know that their fan bases would appreciate it, but I think that he would make a huge difference. Minnesota, do you have enough, with Towns, do you have enough to get Zach LaVine from Chicago? Your pick equity is just a bust. And so do they have interest in any of your youngsters plus Towns, or do they view that as a challenge trade? We're talking about the best defense in Minnesota. You run Edwards, McDaniels, LaVine, Gobert as and Conley as those are your units. You're asking Edwards to kind of move up and McDaniels to move up. I don't know, man. I would love it. And especially just as Mike Conley's getting into free agency, you don't know if he's going to be back. I think LaVine does a lot to improve their offense, and him and Anthony Edwards can play off each other. I have no doubt in my mind. That'd be a fun reunion. And then I would still be on about this. This team is not, Minnesota has real urgency to what they're trying to do. This team does not, even though they have the potential to be really good. Orlando, they are 23rd in half-court offense, which I believe is a little bit of an improvement. They've had some rough games from Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero at different points this season, actually sometimes in the same night. Their ceiling is higher than what we've kind of seen from them right now. I fully believe, as currently constructed, they're a team that, look, they're 4-2. They have one of the best defenses in the league. I think they can insulate Zach LaVine defensively enough to be like, this might be interesting to try. And I don't know. I think what some of the issue is that, okay, so you're just defaulting to, your top 5 guys at that point is Paolo, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., then Fultz and LaVine. Like, that's a pretty interesting starting 5 where you're basically, from your preferred 5-man unit, you're deciding, well, we're going to sub out Jalen Suggs for Zach LaVine. Like, that's a hell of an offensive upgrade. And you have the scratch to kind of, to make that deal happen without having to include, I don't know where you'd land on, do we want to give up Jalen Suggs for, like, you don't have to move Carter Jr. to do it. You're definitely not moving Paolo or Franz Wagner to do it. But are you willing to move Suggs in a LaVine deal and a first or 2? I think that's reasonable. I just don't know if that's kind of jibing with Orlando's timeline. I will say I've been impressed with Anthony Black in his minimal minutes within like this offensive ecosystem that I thought I was going to be. And that was someone that I really liked leading into the draft, but I thought he ended up in a spot where I wasn't going to appreciate what he could do. Probably judged too soon there. And we'll see how his minutes continue to tick up as the season goes on. So, like, would you give up? Like, you would have to give up one of those dudes. It's Suggs or Anthony Black to get in the Zach LaVine sweepstakes. Plus picks, salary matching gets a little tough, but you have Gary Harris there. You do. I mean, once Joe Ingles, he could be an important part of that trade. Once you get to a certain time of the year, I think some people might still want to hold out for Jonathan Isaac, but you have him. Like, you can get to the salary for LaVine without including any of your core guys. Would you give up Suggs or Anthony Black for Zach LaVine and plus picks? I would definitely. I would give up Suggs because he's playing the position. Suggs is great defensively. And I think I'm not worried about his start to the season, 43% on 2. I still believe in Jalen Suggs, but it might make sense to move him now when he still kind of has a little bit of that mystique. If it was both and picks, I probably wouldn't do it. But if it's one in picks and salary, I think I would consider it. I think Zach LaVine makes a huge difference for that team.